All right, I think we're up and running here. Um, I'm gonna try and do my best to start a little slower this week. Listening back to last week's episode, I was in a race to get to the end. It seemed like um, so I'm trying to adjust, alter that approach a little bit, and work on things on the process here. Obviously, as we continue to work our way through the early parts of the season, and obviously our first couple episodes of the podcast as well. Uh, every one of these is an adventure. Every one of these is an adventure, and continuing to learn and develop. And hey, we tell the kids all the time as coaches, and it's a process, and each game gets better. Each podcast going to get better too. I did want to take a chance real quick to kind of welcome some new people to the mix over the weekend. A lot of the coverage for leading up to the MAHA Showcase saw a good increase in you guys wanting to check out the picks and check out Instagram and Twitter and the whole nine. So I did want to welcome in a bit of a new audience if you're not familiar with Petey's picks or just starting to warm up to it. Definitely a huge welcome there. If you could, I know, like I said, Instagram, Twitter, don't forget YouTube here. Be sure to like and subscribe. Greatly appreciated there. I'll recap last week's segment of the picks real quick. Had a ton of fun with it. Got some good engagement. A lot of you guys getting involved as well, making your picks on the website. And we'll continue to kind of iron out that process as well so that you guys can keep a track record of your picks as the season unfolds, similar to the way I like to keep track of my picks. So 4 games on the slate over the weekend. Went 3-0-1 on those picks. It was a fun one. Highlighted 4 games. All 4 games ended up being really good bangers. 15s, Caesars beat Honey Baked 2-1. So a real great game there. Super competitive. I had Caesars obviously in that one. 16s, I told you guys, here comes VH. Caesars, like I said, a lot could still change with that team. But VH ended up beating them real good back and forth game, high scoring game. I think it was 7-4. That last goal being an empty netter. So you love to see those close games. 14s, OJG and Fox. I had Fox. They ended up tying 2-2. I don't think the 14s played overtime. I saw 15s, 16s, some of the older age groups played overtime at the MAHA Showcase. I don't think the 14s did. So a tie game there. And then Sunday, the finale, 15s, Honey Baked back in the picks, took on OJG, beat them 3-1. And again, that last goal was an empty netter. So, spotlighted 4 games, all 4 super close. I know how I did. I'll be curious to see how you guys did with your picks. And, if you made those selections, feel free to leave a comment leave a comment on YouTube, get at me, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, anywhere on social media. Really would love to hear how you guys did as well. So like I mentioned, it was a fun process, kind of doing the picks for the first time in this format. A lot of the picks I'd done over the past were in blog form, right? You guys could they were up on a website and you guys could read through them and see my picks there. But the live aspect, doing it on video, obviously, and kind of the gimmick graphics I had last week made things a little fun, a little interesting, and hopefully entertaining as well. So we'll continue to develop and get better at that process, and obviously bring you guys along for the journey as well. Because like I said, my picks, I like making my picks, but it's even more fun when you can kind of compete and have some fun with it. And I'm sure that it'll probably be some bulletin board material for teams out there as well this season. I'm totally fine with that. If I got to be the bad guy or the boogeyman or whatever to motivate you guys and fire you up for some big matchups, I'm all for it. So, MAHA Showcase, I'll get into a bit of a recap here. I'm still working my way through games. I was texting a buddy over the weekend, and I wanted to watch every team in the age group and then move on to another age group. I didn't want to watch a 14s, then watch a 16s, then watch a 15s, then watch an 18s. Like I wanted to watch all of the 14s at one time. So I kind of had I was in the same headspace and could compare and contrast a little bit better from one team to the next or one player to the next. So I started with the 14s and worked my way up. In hindsight, I think I would have rather started with the 18s and worked my way down. So I say that because 14s were a little bit tough of a watch, and there's a lot of reasons that go into it. And obviously, the youngest group of the bunch, and still very much learning, still very raw. The structure isn't quite there in the game, so you're lacking some of that as well. It in a lot of ways can turn into a bit of a skills competition, and whatever team has the most talent usually ends up winning at that level because it can turn into a bit of a stick and puck kind of open ice kind of drop in hockey style game where whoever has the most talent tends to win out. So the 14s, like I said, kind of ugly at times, kind of choppy and a bit of a tough watch at times. So I really had to kind of dive in and analyze and get to the bottom of some stuff with players to watch and how teams were playing compared to others. And um, one thing so far, I'm only through 14s and 15s. I'll work my way through 16s and 18s as the week goes on. And I'll have a bunch of stuff on peteyspicks.com for you guys to check out, be it players to watch, players that I noticed right off the bat at the showcase. I'll have power rankings, ranking the top AAA teams in the state by age group as well. So be on the lookout for that at peteyspicks.com. But I did, like I said, I wanted to get the podcast out today and at least get you guys something to kind of lead into future content that'll come out over the next couple days. So be on the lookout for that stuff. As far as, let me find my sheet here. As far as the 14s go, there's a couple of things I wanted to spotlight here. And my biggest takeaway, I think, so far from the weekend, I've got a really newfound respect, I think, for Fox Motors on the West Side, and it's kind of funny, kind of odd a little bit. I draw a lot of uh, similarities to Fox in the AAA world as I do some middle of the pack high school teams in the high school world. Meaning, they don't have the same talent as some of the for Fox, they don't have some of the talent that Caesars or VH or Honey Baked does. Um, so they're making up for those deficiencies in talent with really good structure and coaching and discipline, I think, out of the players. And it kept them in a lot of close games just from what I saw, working through the 14s and 15s where, I'm looking at them and there's a very clear talent disparity from one team to the other, but it's a 2-2 game, but it's a 3-2 game. So I had a newfound respect, I think, like I said, for Fox and what they're doing there, because even despite the talent differential or whatever, they were still in the hunt, still in the fight, competing. And what I mean by some of those things is stops and starts on pucks, good positioning in the D zone, right? They're playing passing lanes, the forecheck, super aggressive. There's a couple players. Let me see if I can get to it specifically. Um, where forwards. I'm looking at the 14s here. The tricky part about this, I've got numbers for everybody. I don't have names for everybody. Rosters, as I mentioned last week, hard to find on team websites. Some of them don't even have them at all. So it was tough to come by. But Fox Motors here, I was looking at. I might screw this up here, but Liam White, Wojt, White. Um, he was a guy who is not a super pretty player, but just does a lot of the gritty, dirty work. I saw him score a garbage goal where a puck kind of squirted out front, and he's just hammering away in front. That was against, who is this? No, it was OJG. It was the 2-2 tie. And OJG, there was long stretches where the ice was tilted, but like I said, Fox, with the structure they played with, the discipline and that pretty aggressive forecheck that they stuck to, and like I said, they weren't the prettiest forwards, but they were working their ass off, right, and skating hard. And which, as a coach, I love to see that, right? Like, um, not everybody is gifted talent wise, but everybody absolutely has the ability to work hard, and you saw that on a lot of Fox guys, and particularly like I said, it really showed on the forecheck and when they were chasing and tracking down pucks and opposing defensemen. One kid off of that 14U Fox team that I really did like, that I think, regardless of what team he's playing on, is a really good, sound defensemen at this age group in the state. Um, is Michael Zenzov. Think I'm saying that right. But left-handed defenseman, pretty good size. I liked his play recognition. He kept real tight gaps on wingers in the neutral zone. So when the opponent was regrouping and they move it up to the winger, he was able to keep that close enough gap to kind of bait them into that pass and then jumping into the passing lane and picking it off. So I did like that. He had an aggressive pinch too, where he came pretty far down to hold the puck in, and it wasn't like in a reckless way. He came streaming down and got a 50-50 puck, made sure, kept it deep, kept the pressure on OJG there, and did a nice job. So Zenzov on the back end, a big, a nice 2009 prospect there, I think, for Fox. Let me keep working through here. I'll see if I can. Like I said, it was hard. I got numbers. I don't got names for everybody. So notes are a little tricky, and as the season wears on and I start to see rosters, I'll be able to fill in some of the gaps here. But Honey Baked was another team I liked a lot at the 14U age level. A lot of potential, it feels like, and that's kind of what I meant, with the challenge of watching the 14s. These guys aren't fully developed. They're not fully grown. They're still you can almost look at some kids and be like, wow, he had to have hit a growth spurt because he looks like he's just skating goofy, right? Like he's not fully grown into his body yet, is kind of what it looks like at times. But Honey Baked, they had a bunch of forwards I thought that had really big frames, good size. I'm looking at Martin, Deschamps here. Will Martin was another one. So there was Martin and Will Martin. I liked them both, actually, both pretty good forwards there. Will Martin had a couple good zone entries, I thought. Pressure comes on him and he's able to kind of squeak through, absorb contact, bump the puck to somebody else. Somebody else then goes on to make a play. So I liked that out of those guys as well. Honey Baked, a lot of good size, a lot of good skaters. And that's what I mean by that potential. If you start seeing kids with a good frame, they're just not quite filled out yet. That's kind of what I mean by like growing into their bodies still. So, Honey Baked, a lot of big, good sized kids with some of those intangibles that you like to see, be it the ability to skate and handle pucks fluidly. So I'll put a bow on that as far as 14s go and move on to the 15s. I did. Do I get into power rankings now, or do I want to hold off on that? What do I want to do here? I think I'll save the. I'll do the power rankings now. So as I was watching teams, obviously, teams, players, I'm kind of putting them in order, kind of as I saw or see it potentially unfolding as the season goes on. Little Caesars, my number one team there in 2009 birth year in the state of Michigan. There's kind of tiers. I feel like Caesars is a little bit set apart from the rest of the bunch, but then followed behind, I think you got Honey Baked, you got VH, OJG in there, and let me see, that'd be 2-3-4. CompuWare I have next. Let me pull up my notes on CompuWare real quick, just because I don't want to miss anything. Well, they ended up losing to OJG. Hung in there in a pretty good game. It was 3-2, and then OJG added an empty netter. And I think that's kind of why I tiered these rankings the way I did. Caesars at the top, and then Honey Baked, VH, OJG is a little interchangeable in my opinion, but Honey Baked probably the best of those three. Then CompuWare, Fox would kind of be that next tier that I think could compete with and show well as they play up against some of those teams. So I'd have CompuWare, Fox in a tier of their own, and then Big B and Bell Tire rounding it out there at 7 and 8. So wanted to get that in before I moved on to the 15s and we were to start changing gears and whatever. So I'll move on to the 15s here and have quite a few more notes on the 15s because, like I said, as the age groups go up, I did like that. Instead of going 18s down and being able to go 14s up, as you work your way up each age group, you start to see new wrinkles. All right, now I'm starting to see a bit of an organized forecheck. All right, now I'm starting to see good neutral zone regroups. you're starting to see more hockey plays. And obviously, having finished the 14s or the 15s now and moving on to the 16s, you'll start to continue to see growth with each age group going up. So, looking at the 15s, what did I want to go with here? I kind of lost my train of thought. Hang on. 15s, to piggyback off of the rankings talk with the 14s, I did think there's tiers again to the 15s, but I think it's a little broader than what it was for the 14s. 15s, again, I think it's Caesars kind of setting themselves apart, and I'll get into why I think that. But then Honey Baked, OJG, VH, CompuWare, and Fox. Like, you got 5 teams right there that are all going to be right in the mix, super competitive, and may even take a couple dubs from Caesars throughout the season. Again, Fox Motors plays a real structured game. Are they able to squeak out a close one and steal one with Caesars? Honey Baked has the talent. Can they go toe to toe with Caesars for that top spot? I think you might see some of that middle tier I'm talking about, those 5 teams, be able to steal a game or 2 or 3 even from Caesars if they don't bring their A game type stuff. So 15s. Let me see if I can get into more players. There was a lot of players I liked. Don't get me wrong, but like I said, I'm looking at Honey Baked now. Metzger on the back end, he was one I liked. Thought he did a nice job on the blue line in the offensive zone. You don't see You're starting to see more defensemen do it, but really maximizing the space in the zone. And what I mean by that is, like, he picked up a puck off the half wall, and I want to say, was he a lefty? No, he was a righty. Okay, so he was able to pull the puck back. His body is outside the zone, outside the blue line, but the puck obviously still in the zone, and able to use that extra space to walk the blue, get past a defender, move the puck, get a shot on goal. Even he did a nice job. That's what I mean by, like, maximizing the zone. Not every defenseman does that or does it comfortably, and he was one that I thought was really good at it. And kept things simple, which is my favorite character trait out of a defenseman. A lot of times you get the offensive types who just want to be involved all the time, want to have the puck on their stick, want to push the back end, and kind of do it at the expense of their team by taking themselves out of position. So I liked Metzger keeping things simple, knowing he can be effective from the back end without having to be the guy, without having to go coast to coast, without having to jump into every opening in the D zone. He did a nice job of that. So good play recognition too, when to jump, when not to. I thought there was a good awareness, good sense for the game there. Gilliam too, off of that team, good forward up front. I liked him. What did I have here? He made a nice play behind the goal line, shook off a defender, and then was able to dish a puck out front for a really good scoring opportunity. And the other thing that jumps out to me as I'm watching these games is people showing that next gear. A lot of guys out there are doing things all at one pace, and it's not a good pace. It's just like a Sunday morning skate type pace. So you want to see guys hit that next gear and kind of that first 2 or 3 stride kind of jump. And Gilliam, I thought, was one who, when he turns it on, he shows he's got another gear and another level there. There was one instance, he picked up a puck in the neutral zone and kind of wheeled back and was able to attack the offensive zone with, the opponent gave him time and space. So he took advantage of it and he got going, and he'd be a tough one to stop once he gets a full head of steam there through the neutral zone and got a good scoring chance off of it. So again, there's a lot of forwards and a lot of D to like off of these teams' goalies as well, obviously. But I'm just kind of pinpointing and hitting on, like I said, some guys who I thought had nice moments or things that really jumped out to me that I liked a bunch. This kid I liked a lot too. CompuWare 15s, to me, I wouldn't say is certainly not the most talented of the bunch. Similar, I was talking about Fox 14s. I think CompuWare had pretty good structure throughout their game. I watched them against Honey Baked, and CompuWare ended up stealing it 3-2 in overtime, despite Honey Baked being the more talented team, having more chances, having more time in the offensive zone. CompuWare kind of weathered the storm, bided their time. When Honey Baked made a mistake, when a puck hopped over their stick in the neutral zone, when they got a shot blocked in the defensive zone, CompuWare was off to the races and capitalized on their scoring opportunities when they could. So, but CompuWare didn't strike me as an overly talented team at the 15 only age level, except for one kid, I think, Aliota, number 88 forward up front. He's one kid I think has a ton of potential there. Again, good size, good frame, skates pretty well given that size, and pretty strong on his skates, which you like to see too. I don't know that he's the prettiest skater, right? I'm not going to see a ton of mohawks and pretty crossovers out of him or anything like that. But I did think he worked pretty hard with and without the puck. I saw him one time here, collected a puck off a forecheck, and quickly centered it out to a line mate for a good scoring opportunity there. So I think he just has that good combination of work hard, working his bag off on a forecheck, and with and without the puck, and then a good kind of sense for the game and how things unfold. He's a guy that stood out to me for a lot of various reasons. So would definitely like to see more of him as the season unfolds. Let me see here as I dive into this a little bit deeper. OJG was another team as I'm going through notes, similar to Honey Baked. OJG and Honey Baked to me, I think, are going to be super close at the 08 age level. Both super talented. It's just going to be a question of who can kind of piece things together from a structure standpoint more than the other, if you want to compare the two directly. But both teams, I think, have a ton of talent there. Let me see. I think that might lead into maybe the last team I want to get into here when it goes to 15s. I was watching Caesars and Fox from Saturday. Obviously, Jacob Monks, Ethan Garden, your two power players, your two big guys there for Caesars. But it was kind of, I kind of enjoyed it a little bit because I was watching, I was like, is that who I think it is, right? Caesars was one I couldn't find rosters for, so I was kind of in the dark. And I'm watching the game, and I'm kind of trying to see who's on the bench, what names are on the bench, and everything, trying to piece everything together. And sure as shit, this one kid kept catching my attention, and then finally I get a glance at the nameplate on the back of his jersey, and Cam Nimmer. I'm pretty confident Cam Nimmer skating with Little Caesars over the weekend. Assuming that's a permanent thing, I don't think you see too many people bounce around from team to team once the season gets going. Nimmer was one of, if not the top forward for Bishop Kearney last year. Bishop Kearney won the 14U national title right here in Plymouth, actually. Nimmer was arguably the best forward in that tournament. So for him to now make the jump and join Caesars, who's already got Garden and Monks on the bench, that's a pretty impressive trio right there. And that alone, I think, would catapult Caesars into the national spotlight as far as the 15s go this year. Last year, Caesars was at 14U nationals, but just kind of lacked, needed more depth to really compete with the Shaddocks, the Missions, the Bishop Kearneys of the world. So obviously adding Nimmer is a huge get for them. And then there was one more that I was like, oh, I noticed Nimmer, and then I kind of kept looking. I was like, that can't be. There was another name I noticed. Again, I could be mistaken. Pretty sure. Looks like Logan Stuart to me is also skating for Caesars over the weekend. Logan Stuart was a top forward for the LA Junior Kings last year, another team that was at USA Nationals. Stuart is a fantastic two-way forward, great centerman to have in the middle of your lineup. He's a guy who Nimmer, Monks, Garden might have a little more flash and dash to their game, but Logan Stewart is like the perfect two-way centerman, I think, at this age level. And as you start to talk prospects, among 2008s, Stewart is one of the more well-rounded, all three zones type of forward that you like to see. So if my suspicions are correct, Cam Nimmer, Logan Stewart going to Little Caesars 15s, that's huge for them. That gives you four star-studded forwards up front. That really makes this team, like I said, not just the runaway top team in the state, but a legitimate contender on the national stage as well. So did want to point that out. Just like I said, the eye in the sky was kind of tipped me off. I was looking, I was like, I think that's who I think it is. So I'll let that kind of round things out for the 15s. The rankings, as far as it goes, I did mention, Little Caesars at the top, number one for me. Honey Baked, OJG, Victory Honda, CompuWare, and Fox in that order, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I do have Honey Baked ahead of CompuWare, despite CompuWare beating Honey Baked. And I mentioned earlier, super close game. I felt like Honey Baked was in control the majority of the game. The higher quality scoring opportunities went in Honey Baked's favor. This team, they're going to play a couple more times throughout the season. I think if they play 10 times, Honey Baked probably wins 6 to 7 of them potentially. So, like I said, the scales in my book tipped for Honey Baked in that matchup. So, Bell Tire and Big B then obviously would round out the rest of the 15s. I mentioned 16s, 18s. I'll continue going through that this week as the days pour on. Be sure to look and check out Petey'sPicks.com. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and I will let you guys know as soon as I'm putting out more content about the showcase, about players that performed well at the showcase, players to watch, teams to watch, power rankings for the 16s and 18s as well. So a lot to come this week and even more to come this season as well. So please join me, especially on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and subscribe. That would be greatly appreciated. Before I really wrap things up here, I did want to point out MDHL goes to its first tournament showcase. Technically a showcase, obviously it's the NAPHL showcase out in Minnesota this week. I'm trying to get rosters for the tournament so I can kind of see who's going, who's representing the state of Michigan out at the showcase and everything. I'd like to know who's on those rosters for the MDHL and go from there as well. So be on the lookout for that as well. I'll try and catch some of those games this weekend and next, as I got a long list of games to watch. I got to go back through Live Barn and all that and play some catch up here. But like I said, there's a lot of great content. Be sure to check it out. Petey'sPicks.com, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple, Spotify. I'm everywhere at this point. So again, appreciate your support. Be sure to like, subscribe. If I don't see you soon, skate hard, have fun, and I'll see you at the rinks.